Alright, Monaco is finally behind us, and thank God. I mean, yes, it's iconic, it's glitzy, there are yachts and billionaires pretending to care about racing, but let's be real, watching cars parade around like they're stuck in rush hour traffic isn't exactly peak motorsport. But now, we're moving on to a proper racetrack, Barcelona. Yes, an actual racing circuit with corners, overtaking zones, tire degradation, and maybe some actual battles. It's not just a test track anymore. It's become a reliable litmus test for who's got their car sorted halfway through the season. And look, after what happened in Monaco, we've got questions. Big ones. Like, is Oscar Piastri ready to throw hands with Lando Norris? Because while Lando might have taken that win, let's not pretend Oscar didn't look spicy the entire weekend. The guy was breathing down Lando's neck. If this was any other track, that probably wouldn't have ended in a McLaren 1-2 love story. And speaking of people surprising us, Ferrari. Yes, Ferrari. Actual positive Ferrari content? They finished P2 and P5 in Monaco without crashing into each other or sabotaging strategy like literal clowns. But now the real test begins. Was that just a fluke because overtaking in Monaco is impossible and the pit lane was basically decorative? Or has Ferrari actually found something in that red toaster that makes it go fast without bursting into flames? And we can't ignore the looming presence of Max Verstappen. He may have had a quiet Monaco weekend, but don't get too comfortable. Spain is Red Bull territory. High-speed corners, long straights, tire wear are basically Max's natural habitat. The man's probably been napping and sipping Red Bull on the sim waiting for this one. So buckle up, because this weekend might actually give us answers, or at least something better than watching cars follow each other like an Uber convoy. This is your Spanish Grand Prix preview and prediction, and we've got a lot to break down. Alright, let's talk about the track we're actually racing on this weekend. Not a narrow street parade where overtaking is just a myth parents tell their kids, but an actual proper racing circuit. This weekend we're heading to the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, a track that drivers have probably memorized better than their own phone passwords, thanks to years of testing here. It's 4.657 kilometers long with 14 corners, and we're getting 66 laps on Sunday. So yeah, drivers will be getting real familiar with the place whether they like it or not. This isn't one of those blink and you're done street tracks. That's plenty of laps to see who's actually got a solid race car and who's just been looking fast. Now the track layout is actually pretty balanced. You've got fast corners, long straights, technical middle sectors. It's like a mixtape of everything. We've got 2 DRS zones, one on the main straight, which usually sets up moves into turn 1, and another between turns 9 and 10 for that last minute I believe in myself dive bomb. Historically, Barcelona's been a track where upgrades really show their true colors. If your team brought something shiny to Monaco, we'll finally find out here if it actually works, or if it was just a fancy side pod with no performance. Also, because teams know this place inside out, there's basically no hiding. If your car sucks here, it probably just sucks in general. So if someone has a shocker this weekend, they can't really blame the track. So yeah, Barcelona might not have yachts or royalty chilling in the harbor, but it's got racing that isn't allergic to overtakes. And that's already a win in my book. Now let's get into the actual storylines for the Spanish Grand Prix, because even though Monaco had all the glitz and no overtakes, it did stir the pot in some interesting ways. First up, Lando Norris. After years of being the so close yet so unlucky guy, he finally backed up that Australia win with another big one in Monaco. That puts him at 6 career wins, now tied with Oscar Piastri, his own teammate. But if anyone thinks Oscar's just gonna sit there and politely applaud from P2 all season, Piastri's been matching Lando on raw pace more weekends than not. And let's be honest, the guy is ice cold when it comes to racecraft. Monaco might have gone Lando's way, but don't be surprised if Oscar starts biting back this weekend, especially if McLaren keep bringing upgrades that actually work. Then there's Ferrari, who had a weirdly competent Monaco weekend. Leclerc finished P2, Lewis ended up P5, and for once, Ferrari didn't find a way to sabotage themselves through strategy or tyre choices. Shocking. It's a big shift from just 2 weeks earlier in Imola, where even Alex Albon overtook them. But the big question is, are Ferrari genuinely back in the fight, or was Monaco just another one of those flattering weekends where street circuit randomness made everything look better than it actually is? Now, let's talk about Mercedes, because things were rough in Monaco, really rough. George Russell did his best Hot Wheels impression by jumping the chicane like it was a ramp, and both cars finished outside the points. And remember, this is a team that was regularly in the fight for podiums in Imola. The George podium memes might be getting dusty at this point. So yeah, they'll be desperate for redemption in Spain, but unless the W16 suddenly turns into a rocket ship, I'm not holding my breath. And of course, we can't talk about Spain without talking about Max Verstappen. This is the track where he won his first ever F1 race back in 2016 after Rosberg and Hamilton decided to play bumper cars in turn 4. So yeah, it's a special one for Max. But the bigger thing is, Red Bull have been teasing some major upgrades. They've looked a bit less dominant lately with all the driver and internal drama. So that's the lineup: Lando trying to stay ahead of Oscar, Ferrari trying to be taken seriously again, Mercedes trying to remember what scoring points feels like, and Max hopes the Red Bull upgrades aren't just cosmetic. The table's set, now we just wait to see who actually shows up to dinner. Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the weekend preview, the dark horses. The wild card picks, the drivers who might just ruin someone's podium party if the stars align and the tire gods behave. Let's start with a very predictable wild card, Carlos Sainz. Yeah, I know, how can a multiple race winner be a dark horse? But look at the season he's having. His teammate Alex Albon has quietly been scoring solid P5 finishes in the FW47 like it's nothing, and meanwhile Carlos has been living in some sort of motorsport horror movie. Whether it's strategy blunders, random failures, or just ending up in the wrong place at the wrong time, the guy's luck has been awful. But if there's ever a weekend to turn it around, it's this one. Home race, Spanish crowd, and maybe, just maybe, a Williams that's decent in high-speed corners. Let's not pretend it's going to challenge Red Bull, but if Carlos doesn't get wiped out by lap 5, there's a chance. And then we've got Fernando Alonso, yet another home hero, and yeah, another driver whose season looks like a collection of Netflix Drive to Survive episodes that never aired because they were too depressing. He was this close to points in Monaco until his car decided it had other plans. The Aston Martin has been one of the most confusing cars this year. One weekend it's got actual race pace, and the next, it looks like it's allergic to top 10 finishes. But the man is still fast, and if you give Fernando even a half-decent setup in front of his home crowd, he will squeeze every ounce out of that AMR25 like it owes him money. Now let's talk about someone who's not Spanish but has been quietly putting together a pretty underrated season, Yuki Tsunoda. The guy's been driving like he's trying to save his career, and honestly, it's working. People missed it, but in Imola, he literally started dead last and finished in the points. And not just that, he's been getting closer and closer to Max's lap times in the RB21, which is something we couldn't even imagine after the driver change. Sure, in Monaco he ended up P17, but that was more about strategy than pace. The boy's got fire this year, and if Red Bull actually gives him a proper setup and doesn't pull another tire strategy disaster, he might end up surprising a few big names. Anyway, those are my dark horses. Let's see which one actually delivers and which one crashes out trying to overtake a Haas on cold tire. Alright, the moment everyone's been waiting for. The predictions. Let's see if I can actually get these right for once, because honestly, that's the hardest part. I'm going to give you my top 3 for qualifying and then for the race. Fingers crossed, please let me not embarrass myself. Starting with qualifying, I'm going to go with Oscar Piastri taking pole this time. The guy's been quiet, but you know he's hungry. To remind everyone, he's no joke, especially after that Monaco battle with Lando. Speaking of Lando, I've got him P2. McLaren's looking solid right now, so no surprise he's right there challenging for the front row. Now for P3, I'm actually going to split it between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Red Bull has been talking about some upgrades to the RB21, so I'm trusting they'll put Max right up there. And Charles, after finally showing what he's got in Monaco with that P2, will definitely be fired up to fight for the top step. Behind them, expect Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes with the W16 to be closing in, so it should be pretty tight. Now the race is where things get interesting, or messy, depending on how you see it. I think it's going to be a battle between Oscar and Max for the win. Oscar's fast and knows how to handle the pressure, but Max, well, it's Max. As for Lando, I'm predicting a repeat of Monaco, where he'll probably bottle the lead or just barely miss out on the win. But P2, I'm backing Charles Leclerc to bounce back strong. he's got the motivation, and Ferrari seems to be getting things closer to where they need to be. And for P3, maybe George Russell or Lewis Hamilton can sneak in there and make it interesting. Both Mercedes drivers are capable, and with George's past podium runs, he's definitely in the mix. Alright, wrapping this up. Barcelona looks like it's going to serve up some proper racing, unlike Monaco's chaos with those annoying 2 pit stop rules that nobody really wanted. We've got some interesting battles brewing, upgrades coming in from the teams, and a few dark horses ready to shake up the usual order.